This is a HeadGum podcast.
Gather round!
I like that.
Yeah!
Yes! Mess around.
Mess around!
That's what I'm talking about.
Uh-huh!
Stand all day. All night. Look at that.
They messing around.
Hey everybody, it is me, Hannah Simone. Welcome back to the Mess Around Pod. Lamorne is not with us here today, but guess who is? He is a comedian, a writer, a director, a living legend, and he plays my brother in Super Troopers 3. It's the amazing Chandrasekhar. I am so excited to talk to him about his life, his experiences directing 7 episodes of New Girl. He started in season 3 and then directed an episode every single season until the show ended. He is in Super Troopers 3. He wrote it, directed it, stars in it, put me in it, and is going to be in theaters everywhere this Friday, August 7th. So you make sure to check that out. We are trying to bring R-rated movies back to the theaters, and that happens with y'all buying tickets. So make sure you grab your friends for Super Troopers 3 this Friday, August 7th. A quick reminder, you can also catch new episodes of the Mess Around Pod every Sunday on Hulu, which is 2 days early. Okay, I can't wait. We're going to talk to one of my most favorite people in the entire world, Jay. Where are you, Jay? Hi, Jay.
Hi there. How are you?
I'm good. It's so funny. I feel like we went so long without seeing each other, like a decade. And then we did Super Troopers 3 together. And then we went many months without seeing each other again. But I literally just saw you at Comic-Con for the world premiere of Super Troopers 3.
Yay.
Yeah. How did that feel on the big screen with everybody around?
It's great to see, like, this is the moment where I let go of the movie, kind of, even though, you're letting it go one screening at a time and then suddenly all at once. And it's, because every time we screen the movie now, we're still in the press tour, they say, do you want to watch it with the crowd or do you want to go eat at Blue Ribbon Sushi? And it's a real question because you're like, oh, I just saw it in San Diego and I really like Blue Ribbon. And they're just paying for it. And you're like, ah. And so I haven't decided yet. Tonight is an LA screening and there's a Blue Ribbon right next to it. And I'm thinking about going. I may see it for a few minutes and then go eat Blue Ribbon.
I will
But
say,
it's a 90-minute movie, so you got to get it in there,
Yeah. I mean, I saw it for the first time in a theater with everybody when we were in San Diego. And I went with my brother and my husband, who I don't know if you heard them, but my brother has like the craziest laugh in the world. So I was watching like Next Crane, but they also are not like, they don't know how to like laugh out of kindness. They just laugh if it's funny. And they both were laughing so hard and so loud during the entire film that I was missing things. It was such a great response to kind of see and feel in a big theater. It's great. I can't wait for everybody to see it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the reality of the movie is now it's upon us. Like, like up until now, people could just listen to me tell them how great it was. But now I have to listen to them either love it or don't love it. You're like, it's no longer in my control.
Yeah.
And I'm letting it go.
Yeah, it's out there.
But I will say, I feel like people in the 2 screenings we did one in Boston, like the reaction is very visceral and big. And, the part of it is, oh, there they are again. And here's a well-told story. But the other part of it is, man, we haven't seen an R-rated comedy in a theater in a fucking long time with a crowd. And so that's the other part of it. And the 2 things are happening at the same time. And I think, it's all kind of coming together at the right moment, which is exactly sort of what I hoped for, which, I said to Searchlight, we're going to try to bring back the R-rated theatrical comedy. And they said, don't say that. What happens if you don't? I'm like, well, if we don't, I'm sure Trump will say something crazy the next day, and then everybody will be worried about that. So but anyway, we're giving it a run.
Yeah, it's funny. We talked about it at dinner where I was like, I think the best thing that's, happened to Super Troopers is the Odyssey. I think that movie, everybody's going like, oh, well, I have to see that at the theater. And it's weird. Like you keep saying like COVID's over, you guys. But I feel like people haven't like applied that to theater going. People aren't going to the movies. But this summer, all of a sudden, also with Spider-Man now, I think everybody is going and realizing how much they love it and how much they've missed it, putting their phones down that everyone's glued to, sitting down and our film is the only one that says, laugh your asses off the entire time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true. And it's not like a few laughs here and there. It's meant to be wall to wall.
Yeah, it is.
And and so it's an interesting, because people remember, they're like, oh yeah, that was like the Hangover, or like, Knocked Up or 40-Year-Old Virgin. They're like, oh yeah, that's what that was.
I know.
That's
I know.
what
We're
trying
bringing
to do.
it back, you guys. August 7th, Super Troopers 3 is going to be everywhere. So go buy your ticket, drag all your friends, and then laugh. And then all the stuff that you missed, you got to do a second time. You got to go back and watch it again.
Yeah, like you missed jokes, so you're going to have to go listen to it again.
That's right. So listen, this is a New Girl podcast, and I didn't realize this, but Wendy, who helps put the show together, told me that aside from Aaron O'Malley and Trent O'Donnell, who are like our in-house directors, you are in the 7-Time Club. You directed the most episodes of New Girl outside of them.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
I didn't realize that. So I wanted to go back to the beginning. Like, how did you end up directing your first episode of New Girl? It was season 3.
So I was working, like I started in television working for NBC. I directed a pilot called Safety School based on our first film, Puddle Cruiser. And so that pilot didn't go, but it kind of really sort of sent a little shockwave through NBC. And, I went and met with the president of NBC, Scott Sassa, in his New York office. I walked in there, I was like 25. I had a hole this big in the back of my shirt because it was my lucky shirt. It was July. Not July. It was probably May. And I was kind of like, I just wanted to wear the shirt. And so I just kept my back to him the whole time. He never saw the hole. But he was like, what am I supposed to do? Turn over $40 million to you? How old are you? I'm like, 25. He goes, everybody who's young in my company tells me that this is the next thing. He goes, but do you even know how to make a television show? I'm like, I'll figure it out. He goes, I can't. But Judd Apatow, who I didn't know at the time, and who had made 0 movies at the time, was making a show called North Hollywood, a television show. Now he had worked on a number, like the Larry Shandling show. He had the Gary Sanders show. Judd had. And I think Mr. Show. Anyway, he was kind of up and coming in television. He saw the pilot and he calls me in and I meet him on the set of his new show. And he goes, that was a great show, that show you guys did. You should have been on television, but those guys don't know what the fuck they're doing. And he goes, so it got canceled. So I've made the same show. And it's called Undeclared. And would you direct an episode of it? I'm like, yeah, sure. So I directed an episode of this Undeclared, and it's like Seth Rogen and Jay Baruchel, Seth at like 19, Jay Baruchel, and then like Charlie Hunnam, who was in those sort of eventually in those biker kind of shows, and another guy named Tim Sharp. And it's a really good show. And anyway, Fox really liked what I did, so I did 3 or 4 of those. And then they would just move me around to their other shows. And I did a whole bunch of Fox shows, and eventually, in year 3, I end up on New Girl, and I quickly realized that it's written by like somebody who is like a top level genius. She was very funny and charming in the room, and lovely and delightful, and writing these incredible jokes. But then you'd get these alt packs So the script itself would be 36, but the alternative jokes, you'd have like sometimes 20 for one line. You go to the next joke, there's another 30 for that joke. There's 15. And the joke alt pack was be 75, 80 pages long when the script is only 36. And you're like, are we supposed to shoot? And I remember coming into you guys and like, I don't know who, it was probably Jake. He goes, I'll do 3 alts.
That's right.
And I'm like, okay, which ones? He goes, you pick them. I don't care. And I'm like, okay. And so I would pick the jokes and you go, okay, well, what was the next one? And I'd read it. I go, okay. And then I was like, oh, okay, these people, you're trying to come in and work in the way that they already work. You guys are 3 years, third year. You're already succeeding. So I'm like, okay, what do they, I first of all, I say, what's the best episode you have? And I'd watch it, like Liz picked it out. I'm like, okay, I'll beat that. And so that's the goal. I'm going to try to come in and just impress her so much and show her a cut of a better episode than the one she just showed me. And if you do that, if you're lucky and you do that, then they keep hiring you. And so they hired me 6 more times.
Yeah, that's wild because Liz and you have that a little bit in common where you are truly just authentic human beings. You don't lie, you don't bullshit, you are exactly who you seem to be. That's rare. And so Liz would not have brought you back. There's no world of it.
No way.
No way with who she is if she didn't go like, he gets it, and now I can walk away and juggle the 1 million other things that I'm doing. She just won't do it otherwise. She doesn't have that thing in her. So it's a huge credit to you.
Would she stay on the set with other directors ever?
Less and less.
Yeah.
I think in the beginning she was there. I mean, you also, it's interesting. Not only did you do 7 episodes, but you started in season 3 and you did every single season of New Girl till the final season.
Yeah.
That's also a huge credit to you because some people had they did 2 seasons of New Girl and they may have done a bunch, but then they didn't come back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she kept you coming back to the end.
Yeah.
Was there a certain an episode that you remember that stands out to you that felt trickier or one that you're like, I have to approach this one a little differently? Does any scene or episode stand out to you?
Let's see. So there's so many memories of that show. It's funny. I remember the great thing about that show was the timing and the rhythm was written into those scripts. They're just beautifully written rhythm. And then you guys set it at a very high pace, which is, by the way, why I originally was attracted to your style of acting. I'm like, she gets the pace at which you must perform New Girl, but it happens to be also the pace that Broken Lizard is working at a very high pace. And I remember shooting the scene, and Zoe was always she's so good at, always knew her lines and was just so good at delivering jokes, which is, impressive for a good looking person. Like you too. You're like, when they're good looking, you're like, they'll never be able to deliver jokes. You're like, oh, they can do that too. Oh, and she can sing, I guess. But I remember shooting this I can't remember what scene it was. You guys sent me a list of episodes I did. So let's see if I can
Yeah,
look
the
this up.
episodes you did were in season 3 it was Sister 3. And 4, you did the micro penis one. Remember that crazy one?
Yeah.
And then the Crawl, which is an episode everybody loves. The Crawl is for all.
The bar crawl one, right?
Then you did Jeff Day, which is also a crazy episode. That was 5 in season 5. Hold on, I'm going through all of these. In season 6, you did The Cubicle. You also did Young Adult. You did 2 in that season too. And then you did Mario, the one with the little dog. Remember? And that was the last one in the final season. I mean, you did so many. Also, so many iconic episodes.
Right. So I can't remember which episode this was, but ultimately, Liz came down and we had already grooved it. We had kind of it usually takes a few minutes to kind of get it in shape. And it's like, I'm like, well, you could try this. And this line's coming a little slow. And this is really the joke. So underline that word. And we'd finally gotten it. And it was nice and crisp. And it was like everybody was in on it, Schmidt and Lamore and everyone. And she came and sat in the chair, and I'm like, okay, let me just show it to you. And we did it, and I'm walking out onto the set, and I'm watching it live, and I know she's back there, and I'm like, oh, that was fantastic. I'm like, cut. And I come back to the Video Village, and she's got all of her blonde hair over her face, and it's like Cousin It, and she goes like this, and you can see she can see through the little holes in her eyes, and she goes, "Is that how it's gonna be?" And I'm like, "It doesn't have to be that way. We can do it any way you want to." She goes, "No, it's probably the right way to do it." And then she leaves, and I'm like, okay. But she kept hiring me back. I mean, and then I'd see her in the office, and she was much more comfortable there and cracking jokes with Aaron O'Malley, and it was fabulous. I loved her. I loved her. I thought that was so funny because I identify with that. If I wrote something and somebody came in and directed it, I could find 15 things wrong with what they had done.
Sure.
Even if it was Martin Scorsese, I'd be
sure.
Hey, it's coming a little late.
Well, she also knows, I think, at that point, because she really did live on set for those first couple seasons, and we did 60 in the first 2 seasons or something psychotic. And she really lived there and inhabited us also as people. And she knows us better, and she knows the world better than she knows herself. And so, yeah, if she could, she probably would have directed and done everything else with it. And so to have to surrender any part of it is hard to do. And I think it's hard for her then to just be like, it's perfect, because you can, like you said, you can always see the little bits that you would probably move or change, or you're in your own head of what you wish you had written and done now that you see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of can spin.
It was, I mean, she's obviously has her opinion and she's the showrunner, but it was great. Like, it wasn't good. It was great.
It was great. We have to talk about the micro penis episode, because I feel like looking back, and we've done the rewatch of that episode, Lamorne and I are like, could you make this episode in today's world of network comedy? Like,
Jess goes on a date with a guy who's fantastic, other than the fact that he has a very tiny penis.
Yes, and then he shows it to her, and then there is this talk about the alt pack, the run of jokes about the thumb between this man's legs is one of the funniest. But it feels shocking in the rewatch. So I don't even remember anything about shooting that episode or approaching it or talking to that actor who had to take that on.
Well, because I think at their core, Liz has a very dirty sense of humor.
Yes.
And I know this because I would be in the tone meetings, and she and Aaron O'Malley, who was the producer, who's a lesbian, the two of them would get rolling on this fucking naughty, dirty fucking jokes. I was like, oh. And so when I read Micropenis, I'm like, I know exactly. These two are. I mean, I know. There were probably a million other funny conversations about this. She probably met a guy with a micropenis, right? I mean, I'm sure that's what happened.
Sure. I feel like so much of it, I remember that when we'd shoot like season after season, and we would see what the characters would go through. You would kind of have an idea of what Liz and what like the top team of writers there were living through. Because when you're writing hundreds of episodes, it's got to come from somewhere. But the micropenis rewatch one really threw me. And I was like, I don't know how. When you also have network and you've got all of those notes and you've got standards and practices, but you want to push it as far as you can go. How, as a director, you then go like, this is how we're going to do this, where we stay in the funny and we don't cross over, where everybody then is going to start writing letters, Yeah,
I mean, it's a incredible pure comedic concept, right? So you get that and you're like, there's 10 million jokes you can do about somebody with a little dick. And they in the alt pack had all of them. But it was season 4, so it was you guys were a hit.
Yeah.
It's the kind of thing that a hit show gets away with that a show with lesser ratings doesn't.
Right. Yeah, we got given a lot of rope during those middle seasons, I feel like, too.
Yeah.
Where we were like, oh, I guess we can just keep getting weirder. And
Yeah,
they're okay with it.
And Zoe was trying to prove that she wasn't shallow and that, she wasn't like Nick in that he would only date a hot girl with the right ass and right tits. She was enlightened.
Yeah.
But she wasn't.
But she wasn't. I didn't realize Wendy pulled up all of the incredible guest stars that we had throughout all of your episodes. And I didn't realize that Quinta Brunson, do you remember this? Was in the last episode you directed in that final season. And she was a huge fan, apparently, of New Girl. And she had told Liz that. And Liz gave her, or offered this part, I guess, to be her first ever big acting role. And now she is Abbott Elementary. Like, she's a massive,
What did she play?
She played, what was it, Wendy? She played like the waitress Annabelle, a hostess at a restaurant called Annabelle. And I genuinely didn't even remember when Wendy pulled this list up, because we haven't gotten there in the rewatch, and I've never rewatched the show. I'm doing it as part of the podcast. And I was like, Quinta Brunson's first big acting job was New Girl, and you directed her?
Wow.
Crazy.
That happens sometimes when you you end up, like, I worked with Olivia Rodrigo on, I think it
season 6.
Was it on? It's on your show. Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
That's right.
That's what everybody talks about. They're like, how did he pick her? How did he know? Did he know from a distance that she had that superstar quality?
She was I said to her, I'm like, you're a very good actress and you have great timing. I said, how's it going? She goes, well, I'm really more into music. And I was like, don't do the music thing. Do this thing.
You almost fucked the whole thing up, Jay.
I almost ruined it. I saw her recently at Saturday Night Live, and I didn't remind her of that, but she hosted the show, and I said hi to her after. But
did she remember that you were the director that gave her a big break?
Yeah. I mean, was that her big break?
I mean, yeah, it was a big deal. That was it's an interesting thing how New Girl was such a show of the time that if you appeared on it, it was a big credit to your name.
Yeah.
And people were coming on and doing 1 line, 2 lines. And people who were super famous were asked, like, Taylor Swift and Prince, and were asking to be part of it.
Yeah.
Like, it was a wild thing. So, no, I think it was a big deal for, Olivia, Rodrigo.
Yeah, I mean, I did an episode of the show called Royal Pains, and there's this 13-year-old kid in it, and it was Timothy Chalamet. And I remember going, this guy's pretty good. I'm going to keep my eye on this guy. But yeah, Timothy Chalamet, he turned out okay.
I know you also directed an episode that had Rob Reiner in it, and I feel like nobody spends time with Rob without coming away with some stories. What do you remember about working with Rob?
Well, first of all, he directed a stretch of 6 of the greatest comedy movies of all time. And he was the guy who I really looked up to, and when I realized what directing was and saw the string of hits this one guy had been behind, I was like, oh, the same person is sort of almost like an artist behind all these films. They're all part of his mind. And I mean, so when I heard I was going to get to direct him, I'm like, I feel, very much like that Garth and I'm not worthy, right? I'm not worthy. And I felt that way. And I don't really feel that way about anybody, but I was like, this is going to be, I'm going to have to give him direction, which I did. And, he was very gracious. A lot of it's like, hey, can you say that a little faster? And this is the actual point that we're trying to get across in this scene. Every scene has like a thesis. Sometimes it's like the first or second line, and you go, this is sort of the thesis of the scene. And we got along great, and it was great.
I will say this. I do remember, and I think it was your episode where you directed him, but I think it happened almost any time that he was on our set, where you could be in the middle of the scene, by the way. He would just start telling a story about like the Princess Bride or about Spinal Tap. And then everybody, like, the boom operator puts the boom down and the guys kind of wheel out from behind the cameras. Whoever's directing just kind of like takes a seat on the edge of the couch. And it just became like story time.
Yeah.
Like you were in like a master class of hearing the most incredible things that you would never hear anywhere else. And those days were always the longest. And it always had to be one person who, it was almost like snapped out of this thing and was just like, oh shit, we got to shoot a show, you guys. We've been sitting here for 45 minutes like
really?
this,
That
like little
long?
kids on the carpet, just like hearing some story. But you don't want to interrupt him because you're like, when do you get this chance again? Because he is an icon. I'll tell you this because I think you'll get a kick out of it. But when I was 14 years old, I lived in India. And, the only movies you could watch if you got them at the Canadian Embassy, and they had some VHS tapes. And before that, I lived in Saudi Arabia. So there's like no exposure to anything. And before that, I was in Cyprus, which only had one channel on TV that was the Archbishop's channel. I watched Coming to America on it. It was 6 minutes long. Okay. So that was kind of like, because they would, cut everything out. So I went into the Canadian Embassy and I rented Spinal Tap.
Yeah.
And brought it back and watched it. And I thought it was real.
Oh.
Because how would I...
Right.
There's no such thing as a mockumentary.
No.
You can't Google it and go on Reddit and be like, what's this film about? You're just like in India, and I had no kind of point of reference of any kind of comedy. And I just remember being like, they keep dying. This is not okay. Why won't someone help them? And I remember telling Rob that story, and the level he laughed, he got tickled so much that I actually would believe it.
Yeah.
And then I ended up working at the UN as a human rights and refugees officer. And I was like, people out here need help. Things are falling on them. They need the support. We need to show up for people. Man, it was so funny. Those movies stick with you forever. He was
I just
incredible.
watched Spinal Tap on the plane.
Again? The first one?
3 days ago.
Yeah, it holds up. It's the greatest
magical.
thing. I did a whole rewatch of like all of his films. And it just was like, man, no one like him.
I loved Rob Reiner, and I love meeting him, and I have a fabulous picture of he and I together, and it was magical. This is the greatest.
Talking about people you directed as part of the New Girl world, you also directed the very unattractive Megan Fox.
I did.
How was that experience for you?
Well, she's she's a babe.
She's a babe. She's also very interesting and cool.
Yeah,
she's cool.
She's funny. She knew her lines. She had the right rhythm to them. It was fun. It was like, it was like you couldn't quite believe that that's who you were directing. It's the same thing as with Rob Reiner. You're like, it's really Megan Fox. I can't get my mind around it. And, it was, and Jake was kind of, it was funny because, when Megan Fox was there, it was a little bit like there were a bunch of guys around, and you could, when you see like those deer with the antlers and they kind of bang into each other. Like I came in to give Megan Fox some note, and Jake's like, okay, she gets it. And I'm like, what? I think I put my hand on her shoulder. He goes, oh, putting the hand on her shoulder, I see. And I was like, what's happening?
Yeah, it's funny. She has that thing, whatever it's a pheromone thing or whatever it is, that you're a man, woman, whoever it is.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh, you've got something.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I felt weird inside. Like there's just no way to understand it until you're like around her and you're like, oh, I get it. Yeah, you had to be a movie star. There was nothing else that was going to happen for you, girl.
That's right.
We all can't resist you. So if you decided to try and lose weight but feel stuck, this summer can be different. Weight Loss by Hers is designed to support you in reaching your goals with access to an affordable range of FDA-approved GLP-1 medications, including the Wegovy pill and the Wegovy pen. Everything is 100% online through hers. You'll connect with a licensed provider who will determine if treatment is right for you. If prescribed, your medication is delivered right to your door and no insurance is necessary. Weight Loss by Hers goes beyond medication by offering access to 24/7 messaging with your care team. They have tons of in-app lifestyle and nutrition tips. With a range of affordable GLP-1 options, Hers makes it simple to find an approach that fits your needs and your budget. You'll get a treatment plan personalized to you and unlimited dosage changes as needed. Ready to reach your goals? Visit forhers.com/messaround to get personalized, affordable care that gets you. That's forhers.com/messaround. forhers.com/messaround. Weight Loss by Hers is not available in all 50 states. Wegovy is the registered trademark of Novo Nordisk AS. To get started and learn more, including important safety information, Wegovy clinical study information, and restrictions, visit forhers.com. I was just talking about, my weird upbringing in this kind of like vacuum of not being able to watch anything, except for actually the VHS tapes that my parents smuggled with them, which was Blackadder and Faulty Towers. That's kind of what I grew up on, that type of comedy and humor. And I never thought, to be honest with you, looking like me, being half Indian, I didn't see myself on American TV shows or screens, that it was possible that this thing that I wanted to do with my life would ever be something. What did you grow up on comedy-wise? And then what made it feel like it was possible for you? Because I'm sure you had that same feeling too initially.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up on Monty Python and Airplane and those kinds of things, those kind of 70 Animal House, Blues Brothers, Trading Places, and then Spinal Tap and, Stand By Me and, all of Rob Reiner's movies. And then I saw Eddie Murphy. I saw him do stand-up at the Chicago Theater. I was in the back of the theater, which is like, I don't know, it might be 800 seats or 1,200 seats. I was in the last row of the balcony. And my dad took me, I was 15, and I was watching Eddie Murphy do Delirious, his first stand-up special. He's in a red leather suit. And it was so phenomenal and amazing and funny. And I remember looking at my dad, I'm like, that's a job? Like, I kind of, and of course, then I saw Richard Pryor live on the Sunset Strip, or Richard Pryor live in Long Beach. And I just, I was really attracted to just basic, funny storytelling, which is what Richard Pryor did, and was sort of what Eddie Murphy did too. But when you looked at the television screens and the movie screens, there really were no Indians on it except for Ben Kingsley, who, he was in Gandhi, and at the end of that movie, Gandhi dies, so there wasn't going to be a sequel, right? So there was no way in. Like there was a movie called The Party where Peter Sellers played an Indian.
I remember.
Which I think was an awesome portrayal and very funny. And then there was, my dad called me, he goes, you have to see a movie called Short Circuit 2. And I said, why? He goes, there's an Indian in it. And I said, Dad, that's a white guy in brownface. And he goes, well, that's as close as we'll get. And I said, all right, give me a minute on this. So I basically decided to figure out a way how I was an actor, in high school and college. And I was like, how do I get onto those screens? Not in the role of the mini mart guy who's selling cigarettes to Brad Pitt before he goes and fucks Jennifer Aniston. How do I get to be the guy who buys the cigarettes and then goes fucks Jennifer Aniston? And I was like, so I started writing a screenplay in college. And then I would just write scenes. I had a little story that happened between my girlfriend and her ex-boyfriend and I. And I started writing just scenes, just little scenes, funny things. I don't know why I did it. I just started doing it. And then at the end of my college career, I started the comedy group, Charred Goosebeak, which is still going at Colgate. And eventually we moved to New York and we became Broken Lizard. And when we were in New York, we were doing these live sketch shows that were very well attended, and we sold more alcohol than anybody in town because it was Colgate drunks, like pack it with Colgate drunks. They buy the, and they were like, "You guys are the best act we have," based on alcohol sales, and they would put us on Friday nights and Saturday nights, and it was a real nice partnership. And so eventually we tried to get a show on MTV, a sketch show, and we had an incredible audition on Friday night. We did a show, and it was magical. It was sold out. The next night, the State had their own show, and they won the time slot. So we were out of luck, and now, so there were 5 or 6 comedy groups on television. One was Saturday Night Live. Another was Living Color, Kids in the Hall, Fridays.
Mad TV.
Yeah, Mad TV, and then the State. So you're like, there isn't probably a need for another sketch show on television. I said, but in the 90s, when we were there, got there in 90 into New York, it was like an explosion of independent film happening. People like Kevin Smith, Eddie Burns, Richard Linklater were making, Robert Rodriguez were making movies with whatever money they could put together, 60,000, 30,000, 110,000. So we thought, well, we always wanted to be Monty Python. That was always the big goal. So why don't we make a movie instead of this TV thing? We'll try to make an independent film. So we took all our sketches, stuck them together, and we were like, okay, we'll do these 12 sketches. It'll be a sketch movie. And I got a producer to look at it. He goes, okay, we need 12 sets. So we need to build all 12 of these sets or find them in locations. He goes, how much money do you have? I'm like, well, nothing yet. And he goes, okay. He goes, you're approaching this wrong. He goes, you guys need to make a movie where you can do it in effectively one set. Kevin Smith made a movie called Clerks, takes place in a mini mart. You know, Ed Burns was in apartments and on the streets of New York, and Richard Linklater was on the streets of Austin, places that you could afford. So we were like, okay, we need one location. We said, oh, I had shown these guys the scenes that I'd written way back in college and said, you know, this is like a love story about a guy and a girl and the ex-boyfriend. And everybody read it, and they're like, we could make a movie, like a college movie, but with this at the center, and we'll build out other characters. And we ended up making that movie Puddle Cruiser at Colgate University, which was like, we went there in the summer. We all stayed in my old fraternity house, and we made the movie. And we got into Sundance and got a deal to make a second movie, which eventually became Super Troopers 1.
It's a wild thing how, you think all that time has passed and all this technology has happened and social media and everything that goes along with it. But the basic rules are still true, which is if you're trying to get discovered and you're trying to make something, make it yourself. There's new tools and new ways to do it. But that idea of like, put yourself in it, write the thing, get your friends together. And then there's a lot of luck, right? And people are going to see it. They're going to connect with it, whatever. But you still have that power and ability. And sometimes it works.
Yeah. I mean, I wrote a 6'2" Indian with my voice into the middle of the movie. You're like, who are they going to cast? I mean, I'm right here. It was that kind of thing. It's like, if I were like, whatever, Megan Fox it's not that she didn't have to struggle or tried. It's that there are already several slots for people who look like her in the movie. So I think if I looked like Brad Pitt, I probably never would have learned how to write and never would have learned how to direct because I wouldn't have had to.
Sure.
Now Brad Pitt's also a great actor, and he's fought off many other good-looking, great actors too. There are a lot of them that didn't make it or made it a little and didn't make it. But the great thing that ended up happening, at least for us, is that no one was going to put us in movies unless we did it. And once we discovered out how to do it, then we would just write a new movie, and the studio will now go, oh, yeah. Yeah, okay, we can make it for this much money, and you guys are the five guys in it. Oh, okay, yeah. And now I mean, like we just keep, like if you're a comedic actor, you sometimes have a sunrise and your time in the sun, and then you sunset. But we just keep writing ourselves into new movies. And now we've made our 9th movie.
That's crazy. I mean, that's wild. Because I know you just talked about how you made the first Super Troopers. Second Super Troopers was like a crowdsourced,
Yeah, we
very famous story.
$5.5 million from 55,000 people.
Crazy.
But
The hunger was
it was
there.
a risk, like we said to the studio 17 years later, after we'd made 6 films or 5 films, we said, we want to make number 2. And they're like, we don't know that the audience is still there for it. And we had been going around doing stand-up, and we'd made Beer Fest, and we'd made Club Dread. And we, in our opinion, the audience was still there for it. And they were like, yeah, we don't know. We don't know. We don't know if we think it'll. Yeah, they were just dragging their feet. So we decided to crowdfund it to prove it to them that there was an audience. But you have to press go on a campaign, and there's the danger that if you press go, you make $100,000 or $20,000 or nothing.
Sure.
And we had 2 million in 24 hours. We had 5.5 million in 30 days. And the studio was like, oh my God, this is incredible. And so then we found financing for the rest of the movie, and then they paid for all the advertising because they were like, okay, you've proven that there's an audience.
So how did you get 3 off the ground then? Because then there was another big break.
Well, after they saw the second one, they said, why don't we do a third one? And we're like, let's make another movie, and then we'll come back and do a third one. And then COVID hit. And so, then the writer's strike hit. But, I mean, we just constantly are writing stuff. We're writing scripts. And, we don't need the studio to tell us what to write. We already know what to write. And then we give it to them. They have their notes, and then we'll do those notes. But, they were excited to make this third one, particularly when we said that there's going to be a big Indian wedding in it, because they like that kind of movie at Searchlight. Like they like movies about like French butlers, and they like movies about homeless guys who play violins, and they like dance sequences in Indian weddings. And we were like, and they're like, yes, finally a movie that viewers that will like. And they ended up loving the script. And you had to kind of, teach these very sophisticated film people, how really to like dive into like a dick joke or and by the end, one of their big notes when they saw the final mix of the film is they were like, is it possible this elephant could fart 5 or 6 times in the scene? And I was like, I just loved it because they're working with like Robert Downey Jr. and like all these Oscar winners, and they've learned to go. This would be. I think if we have a 6-time fart right here, it would be incredible.
It's really funny because I was sitting next to somebody, and then that part happens where the elephant does these like tease farts, and all I heard was them go, "Oh God, oh no, please no, don't." And I knew it wasn't going to happen, but I was just like, the fear that you were just about to get shit on was just making this person crawl into their body. And I was like, this is what I miss about going to the theater, is hearing everybody's reactions, the good, the bad, the crazy. I can't wait for everybody to see it. I will say I was not part of the Super Troopers, world beforehand. I was a fan, but I wasn't part of the world. And when I told everybody that I was going to get to do this film and to play your sister, that every single person, the first word out of their mouth is Farva. And this film truly feels like the biggest love letter to the fans, at least in my experience with the fans so far, is that the love they have for Kevin is it will never be satiated. Yeah. And you guys give them Farva on Farva on Farva on Farva in this film. Everybody's going to come away thrilled.
Yeah, I mean, yes. The premise of the film is that what would happen if the guy you hated the most in your office started dating your sister? And so, you and Farva get engaged. I'm convinced it has to be because you have a psychological syndrome called Putzfimmel syndrome, where you fall in love with your savior. He saves you in the beginning of the movie. And so the movie is basically me trying to stop the wedding. And I'm describing it as like Meet the Parents, meet Super Troopers.
Yeah. You guys, it's going to come out on August 7th. It was an honor to play your sister, Jay, and to be reunited with you. I want to say something quickly because you and I have done a little bit of press together and we've hung out together. And I don't know if this has ever been said out loud and on record. But when you came to me about this film, I texted a bunch of people that had done the other Super Troopers films of yours, and they were like, run to work with Jay and to be on his films. He's the greatest guy and the kindest guy. And even though we'd done a lot of New Girl together, it wasn't like we'd like hung out or spend a lot of time. And I got to witness you in front of the camera as an actor, but also just in hair and makeup with the crew. And you are maybe one of the kindest humans I have ever met. And I'll give you guys an example. And this is one of a million I could give you of working on this film with you, Jay, is Jonna, who did my makeup, had a freak accident driving to work and something fell over an overpass and crashed her windshield. And without even blinking or saying, and, hesitating, you offered to take care of her windshield and to pay for it. We went for dinners as cast. You were the first. You were running in almost apologetic, trying to pay for everybody's dinners. You are so thoughtful and so kind all the time, 100% of the time. And that is one of the rarest qualities, especially with someone who's had the amount of success that you've had that is still so built into the bones of who you are. And yeah, it's rare in this industry and in this life. And so I feel really lucky that we got to make this film together and that I got to hang out with you.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to crawl out of my own skin with all those compliments.
It's all true. It's all true. It's all true. And I adore you. And I can't wait for everyone to see this film. And I can't wait to do another one. And we'll just keep going.
I have one more thing to say. I have a stand-up special coming out on August 20th on Veeps.com.
Get out.
Yeah, I shot a stand-up special last year, and I figured I'd ride this Disney publicity wave and put it out at the same time. So it'll be on Veeps.com, and then it'll be on Amazon and all that. But it's an hour of great jokes, great stories, funny stuff.
Was that like just a big bucket list thing for you to do? To be like, I want to go?
I've been doing stand-up since I was 19. And I always keep kind of getting sidetracked by the movies and television. And I've never really, I've done we did a Broken Lizard stands-up show where we each did 20 minutes. But I hadn't done an hour long. And I just decided to do it. I did it. And, there you go.
Well, I can't wait to watch, and then we'll push all the clips out, too, on our socials. So all the New Girl fans, man, just like the Super Troopers fans, the New Girl fans are loyal. So they will watch it and share it. So, yeah, look out for Jay's stand-up special, too.
It's called Brown Supremacist.
Awesome. Well, I'm down with that. So preaching to the converted over here. Well, thanks, Jay. I'll see you soon.
All right, cool. Thank you.
All right, you guys, that was an incredible episode with my dearest Jay Chandrasekhar. Remember, you can catch Super Troopers 3 this Friday, August 7th, theaters everywhere. Buy a ticket for your buddy, buy a ticket for your buddy's buddy. Go watch it in the theaters. That's how we keep comedies coming to the theaters. And then you'll be laughing so hard. This is what happened to me when I watched it. You'll need to buy another ticket and go back and watch it again. Make sure you tag us in all of your posts, watching Super Troopers 3, buying your ticket, being at the theater with your buddies. We want to see it. All right, we'll see you next week. Thanks for listening.
The Mess Around is a HeadGum podcast created and hosted by Hannah Simone and Lamorne Morris. The show is produced by Wendy Heisler and engineered by Sam Rogich, with production support from Kyle Chevron and Ali Khan. Our executive producer is Anya Kanovskaya. Katie Moose is our VP of Content at HeadGum. Our theme music is by Ronald Jukebox Jackson. For more podcasts by HeadGum, visit headgum.com or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.
That was a HeadGum podcast.